report from NIAS. As most of you know, the New England Association of Schools and Colleges came to visit our high school earlier this year, and they commended us on several different levels, which is great, including curriculum, the culture of the high school, the collaboration between the principal, the superintendent, and the school committee. All of those commendations are wonderful. Unfortunately, although we have received accreditation, we are on warning status, and the principal has until March 1st to submit a progress report. The reasons listed for warning status are non-compliance with the BEP, specifically the Certified Library Media Specialist, limited number of hours that the library is open at the high school, and the support for instructional needs of teachers and the learning needs of the students, which is part of the BEP. Also of concern was the non-compliance in the area of community resources. Specifically, I would like to quote, the lack of an adequate and dependable budget. It is unfortunate that the town administrator and the budget committee are suggesting that 2% will be enough to support the school department. And it would be a mistake, Mr. Flaherty and Mrs. Hamilton. 2% is not enough. We are on warning status at the high school alone. And that's just a travesty. Although we are accredited, and that's a good thing, warning status is not. In addition to that, I do have some questions based upon, or actually comments based upon what I read from the budget committee. Specifically, I'd like to talk about their lack of, it's apparent to me that they don't have a clear understanding of how Medicaid reimbursement works. As a high school guidance counselor, I have firsthand knowledge of this. Medicaid reimbursement is specifically used to support special ed funding and can't be used to supplement the general funds. In my district, the people that fill out the CompuPlan form are the guidance counselors, the school psychologists, and the social workers. We get paid extra to do this. Not in North Smithfield. The counselors, the school social worker, and the school psychologist does not get paid extra to fill out the CompuPlan form. We get paid extra because it brings reimbursement back to our district in West Warwick. Medicaid is used and it's specifically targeted for special ed, and it can't be used to supplement the general budget. So I think that's basically it, just my comments as far as the lack of understanding, I believe, as far as how Medicaid reimbursement works, and also as far as the accreditation. Thank you.
Councilor,
Ms. Lois, other communities pay someone on staff to fill out these applications for reimbursement.
The CompuPlan forms are done quarterly.
Are they being done in North Smithfield, and who's doing it?
They are being done in North Smithfield. They're being done by the people that are the service providers to the special education students, and they're not being paid.
What would be the most efficient way, in your opinion, what would be the most efficient way to fill these forms out?
They're done online.
Online?
Online.
By, help me, I'm struggling to
The people
understand.
that are the service providers, the counselors, guidance counselors, school psychologists, and the school social workers,
Okay.
fill out the forms. They are not required to. It's not part of their contract, but it brings reimbursement back to the district to support the needs of the special ed kids.
Okay. Thank you.
Well,
thank you.
Kimberly Brossing, 107 Mechanic Street. As many of you already know, I am an educator in the community. I'm a parent. I am the NIAS co-chair that Mrs. Bonas just spoke about. And most of all, I'm a very disgruntled taxpayer in this town. I couldn't be more disappointed when I read the email this morning from the Budget Committee and the recommendations. And I hope that this town council will consider what is best for our educational community. First, I was saddened by the fact that a report that was dated completed on April 14th was only forwarded to the school department on June 11th for a June 12th hearing. How disrespectful to the leadership and the members of the school department and community. Second, I'm saddened that a group such as the Budget Committee and the leaders of this town, including the town administrator and town council, offer oftentimes unsubstantiated advice and constant criticism of our school department, yet fail to witness and come to some of the great achievements that our school puts out there. I, this year, as a teacher, reached out to the town administrator and all members of the town council to come into my class and offer my government students some first-hand perspective on government in action. Mr. Yazbak was the only one who took me up on that offer. Mr. Flaherty and Mrs. Hamilton did have the courtesy of responding to my prep request, however, two other counselors did not. I did not see one of you at senior projects and presentations, which was an incredibly proud moment for our school community, nor at the high school graduation. You have a responsibility to value education in this community. That responsibility goes beyond criticism to supporting some of the great things that NSHS has to offer. I expect more out of this leadership. As I read the Budget Committee's recommendations, all I thought was the audacity. The leadership of our school, the teaching staff, are trained professionals. We have bachelor's and master's degrees that have provided us with the skills and the knowledge about how to teach and how to run a school system. You went to school, yes. Some of you were teachers in the past, yes. But none of you are educators in the trenches every day. None of you deal with a teacher evaluation system that places more and more expectations, and rightly so, on us, because we are public servants, and we should be held accountable. You don't deal with Common Core standards, curriculum requirements, IEP and 504 legal requirements, yet you believe you can recommend program changes that are more fiscally feasible. When did that become the job of people with no knowledge on how to run a school today in 2014? Based on this rationale, I make a budget for my home, so I must have financial expertise and have the right to go to Fidelity or CVS and tell them how to organize and run their business. It makes no more sense than the Budget Committee recommending that teachers volunteer to teach another period or restructure department heads. Just to provide some insight from people who do the job, how ridiculous these recommendations are. A new preparation period does not equal one more class of students. It does equal one more class of students, and it is not worth the 1/6 of the salary we would make. Yes, we'd like to impact more students. However, one more class requires countless hours of preparation. So we can create innovative lesson plans that teach the Common Core. It requires more grading, more parental communication, more collaboration with special educators, all to meet the needs of the student body. Yet according to the recommendations, it's an easy way to cut costs. My job is not easy. In fact, I can't think of another job where I have to spend all this time defending what I do. Today, NSHS was put on warning status, as Mrs. Bonus just brought up. We received accreditation, but we got warning status for failure to adhere to the standards. All I can say is we did not. Thank you. This study was done by a group of professional educators who teach and lead schools throughout New England. Their recommendations, unlike those of the budget committees, are relevant. They are created by people who do, not people who critique. In the commendation section, it was the leadership and teachers who were heralded for their dedication to providing an exceptional education at NSHS. The community was not commended. In fact, your lack of financial support resulted in a warning status that must be remediated. Today's society, when we value something, we pay for it. It is time that North Smithfield value education. It's time to end the excuses. I teach students about civic virtue and sacrificing for the common good. It's about funding education, and I wish you would realize that. I was disgusted by the fact my taxes are going to go down, and yet my kids are not going to get a good education because we don't pay for it. We owe more to our students. My daughters deserve more. I deserve more. The whole community deserves more, and I really hope that you take what you hear from professionals and people who are in the schools every day and value us like we value the children of this town.
Who would like to be next? Follow that.
I'm passionate.
Tracy Mingo, 3 Mingo Farm Road, resident, parent, and also a teacher. I can't tell you how much I resent having to be here yet again. Another round of trying to get people to understand how important it is to fund education. Also to be here again and watch our town administrator not be ready for another presentation. Year after year I go to budget meetings and you're not ready. And I resent as a taxpayer not having her proposal on the website until 8 hours before the meeting. I resent getting a recommendation, seeing a recommendation from the budget committee that references code numbers for us to look at, perhaps for how the schools could reduce spending. That's not transparent. I don't have time to be on the website looking it up. I have a job, I have children, I have a home, I have 2 jobs. They had months to prepare this, and they're giving me code numbers? That's just ridiculous. The tax abatement issue, how many 38 studios is that, John? I'd like to know. To Ms. Hamilton, that you gave Mr. Lindbergh. Let's compare apples to apples, shall we? I'm a little sick of the bias. I'm a little sick of the one-sidedness. I'm a little sick of the criticism. I've invited people into my classroom. No one's come. As far as I'm concerned, you're all cowards. You have nothing to back it up with. And you allow the budget committee to cherry pick numbers. Anybody can go on the RIDE website and get all these numbers that look favorable for other districts. But you don't look at the whole picture. If you don't know what's going on, you're not qualified to make a judgment. If you don't do it every day, or at least try to figure out how it's done every day, you don't have a right to make a judgment. And for the budget committee to recommend that we fire local people and hire a maintenance company instead, when there have been 74 school shootings since Sandy Hook, and you're going to bring strangers into my school because you're going to save how many $1,000s? Can you secure that? Can you secure Hallowell? I'm so glad I don't have a kid at Hallowell School right now. You can't lock that campus down. There is no excuse. I got to take my shoes off at the airport because somebody put a bomb in their shoe. But any Tom, Dick, or Harry can walk into one of our schools and shoot us all because you're too cheap to put a policeman in every single school. I am so sick of this. Excuse my fervor, but I go to work every day wondering what could happen. And I don't want to have to learn to shoot a gun. But is that what it's coming to? Our teachers are going to have to carry guns? We can't handle getting rid of Hallowell School. We can't get our act together to do that. And don't tell me the bond's going to do it. Because now you're separating out the school part, so hopefully that'll get voted down and you can get your municipal whatever reorganization. I mean, really, stop playing games and do your jobs. Enough is enough.
Good evening, my name is Natalie O'Brien. I live at 128 Old Great Road. I am a taxpayer, a parent, a teacher. I've coached in this district for over 10 years and I'm a department chair. I too was very upset when I received word about the recommendations from the budget committee and then of course when I heard from Mrs. Hamilton about only getting the 2%. I certainly think that our schools and our students deserve more than that. I am here at this moment to speak a little specifically about something that was in the Budget Committee report, and this was the reference to department chairs. As important leaders within the building, we help to create a cohesive academic environment that ensures that each child at North Smithfield High School is receiving the necessary skills that will make them productive members of society. This may include, but is not limited to, implementing a writing initiative, creating department-wide rubrics that ensure rigorous assessments based on standards, ensuring that curricular deficiencies are remedied, monitoring compliance with school-wide initiatives, and assisting in the development and the achievement of our school mission. I attend leadership team meetings, I help with the administrators to evaluate teachers, I provide supports, and I help our school move in the right direction. I know that you have been given a list of our responsibilities, as has the Budget Committee previously, but I don't think that people seem to grasp how important the leadership is to the school moving in the right direction. Time is one of the most valuable resources that an educator has and allows leaders to have additional time during the school day, and that is invaluable for department chairs. In the Budget Committee report, it was mentioned that department chairs, if they each taught an additional course, would be able to offer more courses to over 200 students. I think that those 200 students would be best served with having the most cohesive, rigorous educational environment, and I do think that department chairs do an important job helping to fulfill that expectation. We are instrumental in providing support for teachers. I've discussed with my husband a number of times that maybe I would prefer to be in the classroom for 5 sections because I got into education because I love being with kids. But I value North Smithfield, and I really think that we move in the right direction when teachers are supported, when they receive the resources that they need, the help that they need. And I think that being by department chair, I'm not just helping the 23 extra kids who would be in my classes, I'd be teaching one more section, I'm helping 500 students because I'm able to help lead the individuals within my department. So I would like the town council, the town administrator, the budget committee to be thinking about making decisions based on what's best for the schools, not on how to save money. And it seems as though this is a conversation we continue to have over and over again. And I think if we value something, that we fund it. I appreciate people looking into the schools, and I understand that change needs to be made, but I think change is based on improvement, not based on saving money. And I think what I've read is about how best to save money. Although people feel that they're experts on education because everybody's gone to school and a lot of people have gone to college, it doesn't make you an expert on what goes on in the schools every single day. I've just been teaching at North Smithfield High School for 13 years. I'm telling you, change has happened. It is not the same profession that I entered 13 years ago. I mean, I truly love it. I enjoy going to work every single day, and there's something to be said for that, but I just get more and more frustrated with what's going on. So I don't know what else people are expecting teachers to do or what you want the school to do. I think that we perform well. I think that we are improving every single year, and that deserves commendation and more support, not being told that we have to do with less. So I know as a department chair, I follow the expectations, every single one of those things that's on that piece of paper that I had to agree when I applied for the position. I meet, when I attend a meeting and Mr. Mezzanotte says that there's an initiative that I should be spearheading, I certainly do what I'm expected, but I think department chairs go beyond that. The social studies department has moved in a great direction over the last 5 years, and that's because I'm able to see, with extra time that I'm allocated, what is needed for the students in our school. And I hope that you see the value in that. I hope that you recognize when other people speak that the 4% isn't just money that is somehow thrown away and doesn't provide anything. It helps students. And as I've said many times, I moved to this community about 8 years ago. I never attended public schools. I'm a product of private school education. I moved here because I felt confident that my kids could attend these schools and get a tremendous education. And if this is the direction that we're heading in, I do tend to doubt my decision that I made a few years ago. Thank you.
Mr. Flannery.
Mr. Zawinski.
Ms. Bonas? Hi. Ms. Bonas? Hi. Let me ask, the New England Association of Colleges and Schools notified our town today that it's on warning.
Yes.
That troubles me deeply. It does. It does. Because our students are going to be looking to apply to go to colleges. This is huge. Just want to let you know that it worries me tremendously.
Good evening, my name is Paul Badney, 31 Greenwood Street. For those people who don't know me in the audience, I did serve 17 years on the school committee and 2 years as chairman of the budget committee. While not everyone would agree with all the decisions I made or recommended, I do believe I know my way through the budget process and all that it entails. Some of my numbers and calculations not be accurate or as correct as the numbers that I've been working with from a report issued to me on May 8th from the finance director. For the second year in a row now, the Budget Committee has not held a public hearing on the administrator's proposed budget, and today is the first time myself and others have seen these numbers. It makes it difficult to ask intelligent and accurate questions. Also, I am not sure as to what extent the assessment issue will impact this budget. I will try. And my main concerns tonight are related to revenues. On June 3rd, 2013, Town Council, same members that are sitting right here, voted unanimously to show all anticipated revenues that they are recognized within the operating budget. Mr. Yazbek at the time further stated that all included revenue and expenses across the board should be shown. Also on a unanimous vote, all anticipated credits and reimbursements be included and identified at all departments. I have the minutes if you don't believe me. Some of the revenues that I cannot locate or isolate in the proposed revenue budget are two big ones. Third-party billing. We're showing $200,000 in that account. I know, and I think most of you know, that generates in excess of $350,000, but we're not seeing a huge chunk of that. I fully understand how that account operates and how it's set up, and I fully support it. I understand exactly how it works. But based on what you folks voted on, we should be seeing that full amount of money. And we're not. During my tenure on the Budget Committee, the Chief indicated at that time there was a need to purchase a new rescue, as well as replace 2 outdated defibrillators that couldn't even be certified, for a total of $260,000. I don't believe that they have been purchased yet, but I know when I was there, the money was there and available to do it. But there's no way I can even trace that back in this report, showing that there's money available to do that. Police detail and cruiser fees. Same issue. Cruiser fees are generated in the last few years have allowed the town to purchase a new vehicle in each of those years. Once again, I have no issue with the action and how it's taken. I fully support it. I think it's a great way of doing things. Why aren't we seeing those revenues? It's hundreds of thousands of dollars, those 2 line items. Probably total over $250,000 of revenue that we don't see. As a tangent discussion, the issue of declaring all revenues was brought to the forefront in the analysis of the school department budget. They also had revenues that were not shown, which created much discussion. I believe that the school department should be allowed to accumulate funds from outside sources, like the field rentals and etc., that are shown in the budget. However, they should be put into a separate account to a sinking fund, to be applied to large capital expenditures, such as the field turf, which will need to be replaced anywhere from 10 to 12 years from now, probably an estimated cost of $500,000. Start saving that money now instead of putting it in the budget. Do the same thing with the school department as you do with the town departments. My next issue is the revenue bond payment. Again, last year, I came before you guys and said, you can't do that, and you shouldn't do that, and you might want to check with legal counsel. Okay? Last minute, the money was put back in, said, nope, the school department's going to pay it. Now with all this blue going on with the deficit and the correction plan, now it's not going to be paid back. Now it's not even in the budget this year. Let me explain something. A revenue bond is a special type of municipal bond distinguished by its guarantee of repayment solely from the revenues generated by a specified revenue-generating entity associated with the purpose of the bonds, rather than from a tax. You cannot use taxpayer dollars to pay a revenue bond. Cannot do that. That's what you want to do right now. It is not a general obligation bond. It's different. Go talk to bond counsel, ask them how it was sold, get the paperwork. It's going to show you it's a revenue bond. And those revenues are generated by the savings in utilities that are guaranteed by Johnson Controls in the school department. That's how it was set up. That's how it should operate. You cannot remove them. I think if you remove them, you're going to open yourself up to action by people that bought the bonds and by people that are paying the bonds. You need to understand what they are, how they operate, and how they're set up. And I don't think anyone has a clear understanding of it. You need to do the research, because the actions you're taking are wrong. If that bell is for me, I'm going to disregard it, because this is a public hearing. And if it takes so much time to take care of the public's action, so be it. That's how long it takes to do it. You can't put a time limit on taking care of the town business.
And it's defined on time based on the number of people that are in the room, so I'm not concerned about it.
My last point is probably the most telling point in our revenue budget in regards to assessments and tangibles. The area of revenue that I see is very troubling relate to the tax levy on assessments and tangibles. Quite frankly, the town's revenue source is likened to a house of cards built on quicksand. And let me explain. In 2006, the state passed a law now referred to as Senate Bill 3050. Everyone hears about it. It defined the maximum levy the city or town was allowed to set. Its intent was to relieve property owners of the increasing burden being placed on them by escalating budgets. Today, the maximum levy is 4%, as most everyone knows. That equates approximately to an increase this year of $1.2 million. Based on the ad placed in the Valley Breeze, this will result in another tax decrease this year. So how is that a problem? The town's expenses for the last few years have increased that same $1.2 million per year, and we still have a tax increase. One needs to look at where the revenues are being realized. Town's gross assessment has only increased $18.4 million over the last 5 years to $1,564 million. That's what the total assessed value of the town is. The net tax levy has increased $3.86 million over that same time. The town has increased spending while homeowners pay less in taxes. Where is that money coming from? You need to look at the town's tax rolls to see how the revenues are generated. The tangible property tax has increased $3.99 million over the same 5 years. That's a 282% increase. This all looks good. $3.99 million in revenue to cover $3.86 million in spending. One needs to understand that tangibles are a depreciating value. Their value decreases over time, anywhere from 5 to 10% per year, up to 80% of the value. Well, I believe that the town has 1, maybe 2 years of increasing tangibles left. They will level off and drop when National Grid finishes the Regional Reliability Project and Darling Village is completed. That's what's funding this huge increase over the last 2 years of over $4 million. As homeowners, everyone should get ready for this tsunami that's in it. And you ask why? As the town's expenses continue to increase, 1.2 million or more, and the tangibles are decreasing, they will be the ones paying the bills now. Like a tsunami, their taxes have slowly ebbed over, lower and lower, and now they're going to be inundated to cover the increase as well as the depreciated values, which are going to total $1.2 million, plus an additional $100,000 to $200,000 of depreciated tangibles. That amount may be even greater than we can possibly legally levy as a tax increase. I don't know if anyone is aware of that, if anyone has even looked at that. That's really troubling to me. Anyone can point out a problem. That's easy. It takes foresight to find practical solutions to the problem. Now, I can't solve this problem, and I don't have a remedy to completely solve this problem, but I believe we can mitigate it with some effort and commitment to resolve it. The Budget Committee submitted a report to the Town Council on April 16, 2012. I was the chairman. 2 members are still there today, outlining some suggestions in relation to benefits in a collective bargaining agreement throughout the town. I believe you should take the advice of your independent audit report, which said, work cooperatively and collectively with the school committee, and you should try to establish common benefits for all town employees that are in concert with the private sector. The report stated some of the approximate savings that may be realized if you were successful in negotiating. You have the same opportunity now as the agreements are about to end at the terms. No action was taken then, but I urge you to take action now and put aside your differences and work together with the school. And if you do so choose to act on my suggestion, I'll make the offer of my time to help mediate and facilitate that meeting. You need to understand that 2 years ago, this town was faced with a huge issue in regards to the collective bargaining agreements, and pension reform bailed us out. We could have been hit for over $1 million increase 2 years ago. This year you got saved by a reduction in health care. Your benefits are rising faster than your tax levy and the tax increases, eventually you're gonna eat it completely up, just in your benefits. You need to realign it. That's how I think we can mitigate this issue of values are gonna go, that the tax rate is gonna go sky high, because what we're basing on right now is lost money and disappeared. I hope that you understand. If you don't understand that, I'd be glad to sit down another time and meet with you and explain it to you and show you all the numbers. But we have a serious problem, and it's gonna come within 2 years. And I think we need to act on it sooner rather than later. Thank you.
Who would like to be next?
David Lowe, 80 Highview Avenue, North Smithfield. Union representative for the support staff at the school. I am told many times to try to hold my composure, and it's very difficult to do so with what's going on with the recommendation from the Budget Committee. I have no problem with some input from a committee that has the proper information when they come out with all this information that they put out in the report. The facilities maintenance to be subbed out. Evidently, there's an expert that's on that business committee, the budget committee, who comes out and states all this information on why we should sub the jobs out. And if they ever took the time to visit the school, learn what's going on there, you already have all the recommendations going on that they're not even aware of. They have the audacity to say that our employees are not educated or certified or up to the expert level. When we go through meetings after meetings to get certified for different events, we have to do hours of training on the internet. Every year for hours, we actually take 4 to 5 hours of our own time to get certified for things. Again, they have no information of what's actually going on in the school, but yet you can put this recommendation out to you people, and they should have a responsibility to put out factual information for you, to make a serious decision on our future of the kids. And to have the audacity to do that, I mean, somebody should be held responsible for this, and this tragedy that's going on. This is ludicrous. I could go through this whole thing and come up with 100 excuses and argue the points that they brought out there. But if they would go to the school, get educated, we have the heating systems that are put out there that are monitored. We have experts. When we need them, we call them in. And to go down this road is ludicrous, and it is very insulting. So, thank you for this opportunity. And hopefully you can consider the misinformation that is put out here. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Tony Burton, and I live at 8 Country Way. I sent you all an email the last couple of days, actually, and I didn't get any response, so I feel compelled to speak publicly about it and see where it goes. In reviewing the information as offered by the Budget Committee, I thought about how their role relates to the charter in this town. And I just want to go over what I read and ask you to consider what you're allowing to happen. I'm going to read from the charter. Article 8, the budget, preparation of the budget. The Budget Committee shall prepare its budget recommendations for submission to the Town Council pursuant to Article 3 of the Town Charter, which are the financial provisions of the town. It shall investigate the recommendations of the various departmental budget requests, including the budget requests of the school committee, and may request the Director of Finance with the head of any departments and the head of any other board, office, or agency supported wholly or in part by town funds to explain their estimates and recommendations. Further in the charter, I read Article 9, School Department, 14. Powers and duties. The school committee shall determine and control all policies affecting the administration, maintenance, and operation of the public schools, and shall have all the powers and be subject to all duties as prescribed by the laws of the state. Well, when I read that the Budget Committee recommends that the school department give serious consideration to alternatives to hiring additional staff, talks about teacher-student ratios, talks about alternatives that should be explored prior to engaging additional staff, talks about contract review and language, and rewriting job descriptions, I gotta ask you, why are you, as the town council, allowing the Budget Committee to basically run amok? They're not doing what the charter says they should be doing. They're going way beyond where they should be. What I'm reading from the Budget Committee's addendum, summary, and committee recommendations is not their focus. Not my interpretation of the charter, and I believe many here agree that their focus is wrong. And I hope you listen to all the comments we've already heard tonight and do the right thing when it comes time to vote for the new 2015 budget and fund the schools appropriately. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Michael Moore, 41 Main Street, Slatersville. I'm a custodian in the schools in this town for 10 years. For 13 years, I worked for a cleaning company as a manager. So I got over 20 years experience, okay, in cleaning. But in school, every day, it's not only cleaning. I don't only just dry mop the floor into the trash can. There's children's safety. I'm very proud of safety of the children in this town, in our schools. Okay, and you don't get rid of us. You don't get rid of us. Okay, well, as I walk past it every day, 5-6 times during the day, I gotta check out the doors, make sure the doors are locked for the safety of the children. I look outside as I walk past windows, make sure nobody's in the woods, or if somebody, unknown person on the ground for the safety of the children. You know, I mean, this morning, we went through drills this morning, lockdowns, shelter in place, evacuations. They had me running everywhere to check on things. With a cleaning company, you're not gonna get that. You're not gonna get, you're not gonna get the same person there every day. With a cleaning company, you're gonna get different people there. And I know for a fact that the children will say, I feel unsafe, okay? I would tell you, a few years ago, I took a week out, our vacation, and somebody came in, it was a sub, and the children told me, Mr. Moore, where were you? I said I was on vacation. Well, the guy, I didn't feel safe with him. So, please reconsider and think safety for the children, okay? I do clean, I do get compliments. I know Mr. Limber gets compliments from parents, but please, okay? It's not only a job to me, it's my life. And the kids count.
Anybody else? if you wouldn't mind just waiting just until everyone else has had a chance. I know that we're probably getting toward the end. Ma'am?
Pegada, 440 Buxton Street. North Smithfield High School is now officially in awarding status according to the New England Association of Schools and Colleges. I can't say it surprises me. Among the issues, NEASC cites the significant issues in all but one science lab, including lack of operational sinks, safety concerns, crowded conditions that limit hands-on lab activities, and a limited amount of scientific equipment. My daughter, who graduated yesterday, felt this pain firsthand. She wanted to apply to Columbia in the engineering program, but that program mandates that you have to take a subject test in math and science. She didn't feel prepared to take that science test. So instead she took 2 math tests, and Columbia would not accept it. But my daughter Anne-Marie is not alone. Not one student in North Smithfield High School was accepted to an Ivy League program this year. These hardworking, talented, motivated students did everything in their power to get in. But they were rejected simply because North Smithfield cannot compete. To be attractive to the best colleges, our school needs one of 3 ingredients. 1, we have to be big, because that makes the system more competitive. 2, we need to be more diverse. Or 3, we need to be among the best. Since we're not likely to get bigger or become more diverse in the near future, we need to be among the best. I don't want to be compared to Burrillville. I want to be compared to Barrington and East Greenwich. They address the needs of all kids. They offer state-of-the-art library services, visual arts, and career and tech programs. They provide social and mental health supports to struggling kids. All struggling kids. When we can do that, our students will get into the schools of their dreams instead of the schools that simply accept them. I do understand that you have difficult choices to make, but when it comes to the future of our kids and this town, education must be a priority. We need to raise the bar, or our town will suffer for years to come. Thank you.
I would like to ask one more question to an individual in here when it comes to education in the town of North Smithfield. And that person is Mrs. Hamilton. During your term as a town administrator and the lack of funding that you consistently give toward the school system, and you have the audacity to back an academy school which will draw more money from our school system, could you please explain to me so in an intelligent way on why you came up with this decision to back an academy and take that money from the town, which is having a hard time to support us presently?
Well, the academy is, are you referring to the Rise Academy, the charter school?
Yes, I am. That's the one you're a chairperson with Mrs. Bordelli.
No, I'm on.
Well,
I'm
the
on
paper,
the
I'm
board.
sorry, there must be misinformation in the paper.
I'm on the board. Yeah, she's it's a mayoral academy, and based on that, the mayors in the area in which they will serve are always asked to serve on the board. And I wanted to serve on the board. I think it's an alternative, and I think it's an option, and parents can make an intelligent choice. I don't think it detracts at all. In fact, in Cumberland, it's proven to be very worthwhile, and the schools have come up several notches since they've had, it's like competition. But I don't think that it's going to take away from our school, and that was not the intent. It's to support an alternative.
Your answer sounds very intelligently put. I believe your information is totally false when you say that to us, because it's proven that Cumberland is hurting now because of the charter school in there. We can stand up here and say numbers to fit any way you want to look at it. But if you can't fund what we presently have, we're the lowest cost to educate a child. You have the best results in the state on their accomplishments, and you're willing to throw that away on an academy school backing when you can't even fund us more than 2% when we're asking 4%, but yet you can give $1 million away to other areas that came in from Darwin Village and not one penny came to the school. You have the audacity to do that?
I would just like to remind
Thank
folks.
you very much.
I'd just like to remind folks, if you have comments, please direct them through the chair and not to anybody else directly. Thank you. Somebody in the back? Yes.
I have my recess voice on, and I'd rather address each and every one of you. I'm not angry, I'm beyond that. I am so totally saddened. Saddened because we are not meeting the needs of our children. I've seen it firsthand. Chantal Van Carteraman did get into Columbia. She is one of the brightest students who came here in the 5th grade, and I was lucky enough to have her as a student. When she went to Columbia, this poor girl struggled, had to get extra help because of the weakness in the science program that we provided for her. And I believe she addressed the school committee at one time, stating that things are changing. I see the secondary people, and let me tell you, you're getting your bang for your buck. Because if you weren't, I'd be saying something. The time that's put in, it is not an 8 to 3 job. Weekends, I know at Howell we have to meet for safety purposes, working on things, trying to get things done. But the times have changed. My experience started in 1979. Computers weren't there. Technology was beginning. We're working so tremendously hard. I see these young people struggling to provide everything these children need. And Claire Arnold can attest, I mean, there aren't the books to cover the mandates that we need. They haven't been printed. I see teachers, and someone said you need 2 days for a meeting. They don't eat during those meetings. They get as much. They search the websites for materials so your children will have what they need. They're collating on their need. It's 3 o'clock hit, well, we can't stop now because this isn't completed. There is such a commitment. I can attest to the faculty at my school that I'll tell them, I said, God, it's a joke. I'm getting bang for my buck. I'm happy about it. Can we survive with the same funds we did at one time? Absolutely not. If we are going to meet the educational needs of our children, and I'm sorry that some people say, well, my kids are out of here. Your kids were provided, and my kids were provided at one time with everything they need. Now it's reciprocal. We must provide for our children's needs. And for commitment, listen, you want to balance your budget at times, but if your furnace goes down, what are you going to say? Hey, I can't afford it now. Let's wait. Put another sweater on. It doesn't work that way. If we do not give the school department what is needed, and you know, I never thought I would say this in my lifetime, because I love Alamo School. It was my pediatrician. You know, this man came to my house every day. I went to his funeral. He was in his 30s. when he gave his life for this community. But we have lockdowns, and my children know how to drop next to the wall, put down. And we had one on Monday. And let me tell you, they said, "Is this real?" They were afraid. I said, "Just be quiet. You know, everything's going to be okay." And when those doors were checked to see if they were locked, I didn't know if they were going to be okay, because you don't know if it's a practice or for real. We're going to have to do something with Hallowell School Committee, Town Council, because it is dangerous. Never in my lifetime would I think I would admit this. And Mr. Zwinski, I think you can attest that. Oh, keep on, we can't do it anymore. So we're going to have to, we're going to have to face reality. What hasn't increased? Go to the market. Put gas in your car when you can. Please. As I sat there listening, I will make a commitment to these children, as I've done for many years. Many sit in this audience that went through our system, as my grandchildren are now. We must meet their needs so we can send them. And Mrs. Vada said something, I said, accreditation, and this needs, and I went through my granddaughter has gone through, it's in a system similar. I think our superintendent can attest to that. It's a regional school in Western Mass. And I went into this school, she graduated on June 1st, and I was astounded. I see our labs and what's provided science, and it's not a new school. And I went, oh my God. And I see there's a robotics section.
A point of order,
Can I
Mr.
come
Chair.
back? And I'm sorry.
I mean,
Okay, knock it, you want me to knock it off, Darwin, you got it. But guess what? If that budget does not go up,
Please
I
don't
will
point it.
not, oh, I'm sorry. I will not, if that budget does not go up, I will knock on every door in this town. They shut the door, that is fine. But we're gonna go down with a fight, so we will make sure that our children are provided the tools they need to provide for themselves and their families. Thank you.
I promise to keep it short and sweet. I'm Mary Lowe. I live at Highview Avenue in North Smithfield. I am a product of this school system. I'm not going to tell you what year I graduated, but I am a product of this school system. I am now a teacher, and that was my daughter, who I'm very proud of, and my husband. You can tell that we are very committed to providing the best education in this town. I've been sitting down and I looked over the past 5 years how much the town has given. And really, over an average of 5 years, it's 1.5% per year. I'm really concerned. Things have changed. There's just so much coming at us. And we feel right now, there's so much animosity. I teach my kindergartners that you have to get along. And you can see right in this room the hostility or the tension between groups. It shouldn't be that way. I teach my children that you have to sit, you have to talk, and you have to work it out. North Smithfield, I was here years ago when Ken Bianchi had to raise the taxes because he hadn't in a long time. And we bit the bullet, or maybe it was Danny Andrews. I'm really concerned on why we have to come here every single year and fight this battle with you. You have children in our school system, or maybe you don't, and you chose to go to the charter schools. That money does come out of our pocket. It does, and it will. I think your commitment is to these children. I have grandchildren coming in the school system, and I'm appalled that you don't value education. You look at us as a business. We're just dollars and cents,
You don't really come in and see those kids. You don't know what we're doing in our classroom, but you can sit here and critique us. Do I go and critique your job? No, because I'm not qualified. And you, I feel, are not qualified to do that to us. You made a commitment to this town. And I'm sorry, I voted some of you out, voted you in, and I will do my best to vote you out because you are not committed to this town. You are not committed to these children. You have excellent teachers who work beyond their 6.5-hour days. But you have people who are not educators telling you. And I feel that I'm going to go back and in the paper I'm going to say, you did what you wanted to do. And we go through this and you're going to provide us with 2% or maybe 2.5%. And then our school committee, our leadership, will have to cut further. And we're not going to get an accreditation, and you're not going to bring people into this town. Because personally, if I was looking at a school system, I have 2 grandchildren coming up. I'm telling Kim, let's move out of town. I don't want to live here anymore, because you're not committed. And it's really sad, because I voted you in. And I said, I've got people that are going to stand up for what's right. Children are not dollars and cents. Teachers and education are not dollars and cents. I'm looking at everyone, sir. So I'm asking you. You make an educated choice, and you make the right choice. Unfortunately, we will have to live with your choice. And that's what scares me the most. Because it has fallen on deaf ears in the past. And if I was a betting woman, I'd say it's going to fall on deaf ears again. And if it does, I want you to come to my school, and to the high school, and to the middle school, and tell these children that they're not going to get what they need.
Good evening, council members, Madam Administrator. Brian Sylvia, former finance director, current finance director of Town of Cumberland. To say with that, I hear Cumberland getting talked about a little bit tonight. I'm not here to address in any way the mayoral academy. I will not speak on that. I wanted to come because I really cared about this town. I still watch from afar, and with the issues in the assessor's office, it obviously concerned me, as I'm sure it concerned everybody in the room. I worked with Chris Bellia for a while. I've been in 5 cities and towns throughout the state now. She was by far the best assessor I ever worked with. Or actually, she worked for me. Whatever. So it was very troubling to see her name next to all of these abatements. I really took issue with it, and I had a problem with it. So I really commend the administrator for taking swift action on that and to get to the bottom of it. So I just wanted to come say that and say that I appreciated that. Also, again, in watching it from afar, I've seen the TANs being mentioned. In Cumberland, we have an unsynchronized fiscal year. We have to go out for TANs every year. I don't think it would be an option in this town. I'd certainly be willing to speak further on that issue if anybody has any questions on that, but I don't see that as an answer. Any questions?
Thank you.
Good evening, Bill Nagel, 3 Indigo Farm Road. I'll be brief too, and I'll remain calm. I'm not happy. I think some of you know how I feel about education, you know how I feel about public education. But I'm somewhat disgusted. We have a superintendent of schools. We have a budget chair. Superintendent's not the budget chair. The budget chair is not the superintendent of schools. I'm going to put my money on Mr. Lindbergh. We have an opportunity to do the right thing. We've had a rough few months in this town. We've had students show up to practice what I consider democracy, while others considered it a flash mob. I would ask you this. We knew we had a problem. We agreed that we needed an audit. Accusations were made.
I would consider some of it slanderous. And we decided that we would do this audit, and we would allow an independent auditor to come in here, and we would respect the decisions of that audit. I don't feel as though we're doing it. The audit was clear to me that the schools are underfunded. NEASC has now spoken and said the schools are underfunded. He has told you what he needs to run this district. So let's put an olive branch out there. Give him a shot. Give him a year. Give him the money he needs to do the job that he said is required to make our school system better. Is it perfect? No. Is it enough money to take it where it needs to be? No. Is it enough to get kids from this district into Ivy League schools? Probably not. But it's a beginning. We would then be following what the auditors had said. We would then be addressing the situation that NEASC has addressed. I would also ask, and I'll do this through you, John, we know there's bad information on the town website. I know my wife Tracy asked the town administrator to take that false information down. Those accusations that were made about the superintendent of schools hiding money, manipulating budgets, that was false. And the auditors made that very clear in their report that that was false. They did that immediately, and they stood at this podium, and they addressed this council. And they said false, 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 5 times. Yet that information is still on the town website. We know it's incorrect, it's propaganda, take it down. And take it down immediately, like the town administrator said she would 3 weeks ago. Let him run the schools. Give him the money that he said he needs, and watch what will happen. And then, let's stop to mend the fences. There's a lot of personal stuff going on in this room, a lot of hatred. Okay, and I'm sick of it. And I'm not really sure I want to attend too many more of these meetings. I, like a couple people who came up here, I'm thinking of leaving town. And my kids are already through the school district. I'm fed up with it. Come on, gang. It's time. Give him what he needs. He is good at what he does. And there are some in this room who think give him a chance, and let's see what happens with the 2014-2015 school year, and let's see if we can fix this thing. Thank you.
My name is George Even from 18 Eaton Street, North Smithfield. I'll be refreshingly short. I will repeat a message that I put out at a school committee meeting at the beginning of the entire budget cycle. I graduated from Woonsocket High School in 1968. That's 50 years ago. And between high school and college, I had to earn some money for college and serve in the military. I came home safe, so my buddies didn't. But that's beside the point. For the heck of it, at that school committee meeting, I went over a list of courses that I had taken in high school and asked if those same courses were still offered today in North Smithfield. Now we're comparing Woonsocket to North Smithfield. Woonsocket 50 years ago to North Smithfield today. You know that the course listings in North Smithfield were almost equal to what I had in Woonsocket. Not quite, but almost. So the only request I have, and what I would like to see happen, is that, bear in mind, I don't have any kids in town, I don't have any grandchildren in town, cousins, no family in town. I would like to see the kids in North Smithfield get at least the quality of education I got in Woonsocket 50 years ago.
Okay, so is that it? Is there anybody else? Mr. Lindbergh.
I know that it's really not appropriate in a public hearing for me to speak. I don't live in town, and I realize that, so I'll be really brief. I'm humbled and embarrassed by the comments that were made about me, and I appreciate that. Never wanted to be at the center of this. It was always about the kids for me and the school system. I would just respectfully ask that the town administrator and the town council reconsider the recommendation of the town administrator. Just please reconsider. I think what we presented to you was an effort to maintain what we had. Lisa and I looked seriously at the budget committee report, and we will look at some of the account numbers at the end. Some we did already. We already realized, unbeknownst to you, that since a handful of weeks ago to now, to no surprise, I'm sure, we will have an issue already for FY15 for special ed. And so we're working through that. You must realize now how volatile it is. You can't control that to a certain degree. So that's going to come to bear after your appropriation, but we're working through it now. You know, in terms of the other recommendations, I get it, but cheaper isn't always better. We can always do things cheaper, I suppose, but it doesn't mean you're going to get the same results. We actually had the school committee had an independent study done, I think it was 2.5 years ago, by a business that is not invested in coming in and picking up your custodial services, completely independent. So we have that report, and we did it just prior to entering into negotiations. School committee was wise enough to have that done. I'll be glad to provide it to you, because it's not going to provide what you think. So, and the trade-off is immense, because as you said, you have people here completely invested in the kids. They are part of our core mission. They are part of our core mission. These custodians and our two unbelievable maintenance people who get trained regularly, who can work on the boilers that we're working on, to the point where we reduced costs over the last several years, bringing in contractors. They're phenomenal. They're phenomenal. They care. It's not just about the salary. They care. And honestly, our teachers, Mr. McGee was there last night. It was surreal. It was a phenomenal graduation ceremony. One of the best classes that I can remember. They blew me away. It was just a beautiful place. I wish you could have heard the surprise guest who invited herself, the Commissioner of Education. I wish you could have heard what she said about your school system, about your high school. So I just wish you were, I hope that you can be a bit more proud of it and be more supportive, because 2% will mean we'll have to reduce somewhere around $350,000, $360,000, and we just don't have a lot of places to go. So I would respectfully request that you reconsider that. And our door's open. Would love to have any member of the Budget Committee come walk the schools, and look at our boilers and what we clean, look at some of our special education classes, talk to the administrators about, kind of how things operate and what we do. You should be proud, and I hope that you will support your school district, really. I just think you should. So please reconsider. That's all.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to be heard? Anybody?
I too know it's a little inappropriate. I don't belong to the town, but I work for the town.
That's okay, if you just state your name and address for the
My name
record.
is James Fournier. I'm the head custodian for the school district. I live at 488 Buxton Street, Borough. I would like to move to North Smithfield because I've adopted this town as my own now. But I just want to talk a little bit about my staff. I know there's a proposal on the table to privatize the facilities and the maintenance staff to save money. And in reading that, the one thing I didn't see in their proposal was the pride. Since I've come on, I see a lot of pride, and you can't put a number on pride. They work hard. The summer's coming up, which is the busiest time for us. We have 8 weeks to clean 4 schools. They do a tremendous job. I Again, Mike reiterated the safety issue. We are, in my contract, it says to provide a safe and clean environment for our children. And my crew does. And I don't think you're gonna get that by privatizing. The ceremony we had last night was a complete effort by the maintenance staff, the custodial staff, rushing around and getting it ready for the kids in this community.
Did a great job.
And basically, they do a lot understaffed. They do, 3 of them take care of that middle school, or 4 of them, like we had a day custodian. But 4 at night clean that building. It's a lot to do in there. And if you walk through that building like I do, on a monthly basis, and look at and say to myself, man, I don't know how you 3 just don't drop every night in what you do. The same goes for the high school. I've had people come into the high school at events and go, look, what year was this school built? And I say, I figure 65, somewhere in there. And they can't believe the condition that it's in. Because of the fact that the maintenance staff that we have and the custodial staff that we have. NSES, the same thing. The school is beautiful, and they take good care of it, and they have pride in what they do, because I've heard it from every single one of them. And I'm proud of them, and I know Mr. Lindbergh's proud of them, and I know our facilities manager is proud of them. And you shouldn't take that away from the kids. They know who we are, they trust us, they can't believe what we do of an evening, you know, and they look at all of us and say, you do this on a nightly basis, and we do it so that they come into a clean, safe environment. And I'm proud of them, and I hope you consider us and you don't privatize, because they're not gonna do what we do, especially in the summer. They'll come in and clean, but they won't move furniture. They won't take the time to clean the walls, to clean, you know, they'll come in and clean the floors and put a nice shiny coat on them, but they're not gonna do any of the extras that we do of a year. At events, who's gonna set up the events? We set up the events. We break down the events. You know, you're gonna get the private company to come in and do all that?
More money.
More money.
More money.
More money. You know, it's not really that much of a savings when you stop and think about it. So thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. So before we go to seconds, is there anybody else who hasn't been heard, who would like to be heard? Okay.
And this is just very short. I just wanted to jump off. Clearly, there are 3 Lowe's who work at the school department, and I like to take pride in the fact that I think I'm pretty well respected, but nobody is more popular than my father with the student body. And I do think that that's something that, you know, the dollar and cent signs doesn't really speak to. And Natalie and I would also just like to add that when we did student council or any sort of after-school event, we didn't have to ask sometimes. They know what to do. They're willing to go above and beyond. They're willing to, even when they're told that it's not part of their job description to help us clean up, they're always there. So these people are invaluable members of our community. They even get shout-outs at school committee meetings. I don't think any of the teachers have gotten that yet. So I do think they make incredible connections with kids that sometimes we don't reach, and that's something that I don't know we'd get from a custodial outsourcing. Thank you.
Okay, so at this time, I'd like to just ask if there's anybody in the council who would like to offer any comments, feedback, before we move to adjourn. Appreciate everybody coming out, offering your very passionate feelings, and I think you can be assured that the council will be taking everything into consideration, everyone's comments. I could see the passion, there's no question, and just appreciate everybody coming out tonight. Thank you. And at this time, I would
Close the public hearing.
At this time, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing. Moved by Councilor Alves, is there a second? Second. Seconded by Councilor Zawinski, is there